so you don't have to. I could not be happier, gentlemen, as we finally have the full gang back together. No more family reunions, no more Christmas parties getting in the way of our bonding. Got a little bit to unpack today with recap of a few of the bowl games. Might talk a little bit about portal stuff, but I think the bulk of today is going to revolve around a preview of our four second round college football playoff games. So I think without further ado, we're going to get down to business with those. Quick recap from the three games we previewed last Monday that actually took place. Alabama's and South Carolina's games have not happened yet, so we cannot recap what has not yet taken place. So, but we'll go into real quick Georgia Tech and Vandy. Vandy wins this one. Did you guys watch this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, on and off.
Oh, yeah.
Vandy wins this one 35-27. It was both closer than the score indicated and also further away than what the score indicated at the same time. Kind of a weird game, 1-point game at halftime. Both teams looked good. And then the officials took over with three consecutive plays that all benefited Vandy. And Georgia Tech did not handle the adversity well at all. So Vandy pulls away by like 3 touchdowns, and then a lightning storm happens, and game is suspended for 45, 50 minutes. And then Georgia Tech comes back onto the field and almost comes back and ties the game up. So it was kind of competitive, and then it wasn't, and then it got competitive again in a hurry. Really weird game. You guys have any thoughts about this one before I move on?
Vandy covered. That's all we needed. And it was fun.
Absolutely covered.
It
Yeah,
was fun.
so me and Brandon had Georgia Tech covering. That didn't happen. Will had Vandy covering, and Nate had the over 51.5, which
somehow hit.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I knew
14-13 in the fourth. I was like, oh, I'm going to be the only one that hits. Get a game on everyone, and then
See, the way
all
I
of a sudden
looked
it
at
hits.
it is you got Diego Pavia versus Haynes King. That just screams scoring to me. Neither team is that great on defense. So
I thought both teams offensively looked pretty solid. Like, it was the mistakes. Like, the turnovers is really what made the difference. But I thought it was actually like a well-executed game all in all. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it ain't like Pavia. Pavia was just playing because he knows he's coming back next year.
Somehow.
I think I had
Somehow.
betting wise. I think betting wise, I had recency biased as far as like I haven't seen Vandy play in a few weeks. Forgot how high I was on them, like week 1 through 5, pretty much. And then Georgia Tech comes out there and pushes Georgia to the wire like 2 weeks ago. So I think recency bias had Georgia Tech covering for us, Cam. But we forgot that Diego Pavia is that guy.
No, he's him. He's one of them.
Haynes
Not
King
to be
is
trifled
that
with.
guy too. But Diego Pavia, and he's getting to come back for another year because he won his lawsuit. So
yeah, another year of Pavia is good for everyone. I'll be honest.
What's crazy is this is what their 13th game, correct?
Yes.
Vandy's?
Yes.
And Pavia is still getting away with just pulling the ball and beating everybody outside. It's like nobody has figured him out all year.
Dude, he's just got the want to, though. Like, that dude believes, and he is like, no one's going to hit me. No one's going to bring me down.
It's like their offense is not that complicated, but
it's really not.
He's just, he's that guy.
No, he makes
Cam,
a difference.
how do we feel about the ACC being 1-9 in bowl games?
So I thought about this, and I had like this sneaky feeling that someone was gonna like pose the question, and I've decided that I really don't care because like the bowl games matter so much less than they used to. I went back to each game. California lost, did not have their starting quarterback. North Carolina lost. Omarion Hampton opted out. He didn't want to play in that game. Pittsburgh, they lost. Eli Holstein didn't play. So you got all these. Miami lost, which we'll get to in a second. Cam Ward played a half. If he plays the full game, they win that game. I think we could all probably agree they win that game if he plays the full game. So, like, no, I don't really think I care that much about it. Brandon, you're on there twice.
Nice.
I'm so confused right now.
Wait, do you see that, Brandon?
Nope,
there we're
go.
good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's out. All right, he'll probably join back in a sec. But yeah, like there's a little bit of pride where I'm like, God, that's really embarrassing, and I don't want to talk about it. But like, if you go into the minutia of each game, there's like an explanation for whether it was portal stuff or they just opted out of not playing. Like, there's so many game-breaking players that just decided that the bowl game wasn't important enough for them to play in. Now, I
He's
can't
back.
speak for the college football playoff games. Like those, we obviously did not represent well in those. And I think there's levels to this. But as far as the bowl games in general, I don't really care.
I will say, I bet Cam did, but Brandon and Nate did either of y'all watch the Pitt game?
No.
Yep.
I watched probably close to half of it.
The ending of that, oh my God, where he sailed a 2-yard dump off to like which would have won the game, and then they
Yep.
ended up losing.
Yep.
That was not ideal.
Oh, because the other team, they missed theirs, and then
Mhm.
they had a layup for, it was kind of similar to, who was it that lost it? Was it Texas A&M that lost in OT?
Yeah, to Auburn.
Yeah.
Except instead of the receiver screwing up, it was the quarterback.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it was,
yeah,
it
no,
was pretty bad.
It's not that big of a deal. If I feel like if all of our guys, if everyone plays, they're probably like 500 or a little bit below, because they're playing G5 schools in a lot of these. Like a fully staffed ACC team for the most part is going to beat a G5. They're going to beat Toledo, like they're going to beat teams like that.
Hey,
I had
They're not
Pitt
gonna
minus
beat-
9.5. So
They're
Toledo
not going
had
to beat
some
Penn
fire.
State. What?
Toledo had some fire.
They wanted it. Well, that's what I'm saying. The G5 teams want it more. Like that,
They
the
all
bowl
play.
game almost always means something to them. It doesn't mean as much to Power Fours if they're not getting in the playoff. Move on to game number 2. Iowa State and Miami. Iowa State wins this one 42-41. I think we should probably just dive in to the topic that the elephant in the room, if you will, the topic that everyone's going to want to talk about. Cam Ward plays the first half and then opts out of the second half. Thoughts? Whoever wants to go first.
I feel like
had-
I'm the only one that's like
Yeah,
not
okay.
super mad at it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can see both sides, but you got a half out of them, which is more than what most people can say. But also the one thing that like people go back to now is that back in not back in the day, but back in like 2021, 2022,
Back in my day,
when opt-outs were crazy, but players also weren't getting paid because they couldn't. But now they're getting paid to play college football. So that's why people think that's why I think they should play, because you're getting paid to play. You can't just you can't just opt out of not playing when you're getting paid if you're healthy. But I do see the other thing, like you got a half out of them, which is more than what most people can say. Like they entered the transfer portal and didn't play, or most of them declared and don't play. So
Yep.
I mean, like it's both sides, but I'm not too terribly mad at it, to be honest, because Cam Ward gave a lot to Miami. Like without Cam Ward, Miami is 6-6.
right, but yeah, you look at the quarterback that came in the second half, and Miami might not win 4 games if that's the starting quarterback for the whole year. I just think, I don't know. I guess the optics of it just don't sit well with me. Oh man, Brandon's out again. I guess the optics just don't sit that well with me because the game was competitive going into the second half. You know, and it's like if I'm a GM of an NFL team, like the optics of that don't sit right with me. Like they're in the middle of competing. It is a 1-score game. It is an obvious situation where Cam Ward, if he stays in that, you know they've got a good chance of winning. And if I'm Cam Ward, I would like to think like winning is going to matter over almost anything, you know. And it's not like he gets sacked a ton anyways. Like how often does he end up on the ground? Honestly,
Dude barely had to move his feet.
he gets 45 seconds in the pocket every time he drops back. He threw one ball standing completely still like this, and there's no like it's not like he's under pressure. Iowa State, they don't have a crazy pass rush, so he's not in a tremendous amount of danger. If he wants to stay in the pocket and just pocket pass, that's all he was doing in the game anyways, and he was having a lot of success doing it. If you're going to be out, be out. But if you're going to play the game and then you go into halftime and you're up by 1 score, I just feel like you play that game and you get a win for your team.
Yeah. Personally, I think he's a prime example of what's wrong with college football. I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm still stuck 5, 6 years ago, and I know Cam. We've talked about it a little bit. Kind of like he just said, is like if you start that game, you play as a team. Like that was to me the most selfish move he could have made, or anybody could have made. If you look at teams like Colorado, like Travis Hunter and Shador, they got the doors blown off of them. How long did they play that game?
No, they played that thing.
They played the
They
whole game,
till,
right?
till the whistle. Yeah, till the whistle.
And that's what I'm saying. It just shows different types of character, who's in, who's out with their team. I just think that was a bad look for him personally. Like you said, if he's in the game, they win that game.
My
But
thing is, would he have looked more selfish by not playing at all or playing at half?
it would have looked more like a business decision if he did not play at all, rather than selfish. But the fact that he played a half to get his record or to surpass a record and then sit out makes it look a lot more selfish.
I mean, we've seen that before. Like literally last year, Malik Neighbors plays in the bowl game, sets the LSU all-time receiving record, comes out, doesn't play the rest of the game. No one said anything about him.
I still feel like this is a different situation. Though. Like, he's not the team cap. Like, he's not the quarterback of that team. And
He was the best player on that team.
what happened in that game?
I have no clue, to be honest.
Like I if I'm not mistaken, I recall it's not if he plays they win, if he doesn't they lose type of game.
I mean, yeah, but also like, does it matter if you win a bowl game?
I think the quarterback,
Which
has
to me, that's the real issue to me.
Yeah.
Is like, why do we even? I sent this in the group. Why do we even play these games?
Yeah.
Why do
Which
we
money?
do the bowl? Why
Which
do we do the bowl games?
I will
like,
say,
why?
full credit to the Pop-Tart Bowl. Like they went all out with this thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel is probably going to break it anyway.
No, he
So,
is. He is.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, if Cam Ward plays the whole game instead of one half, maybe he keeps it.
Yeah. But like you said, Cam, do you think GMs are going to look at this and say like, oh, he doesn't care about the team? Like, do you think
Like,
they will?
If I'm a GM, yes. Like I'm like you're gonna have like I'm gonna let you convince me of why that was a good idea on your end, but like at my first glance, like not knowing any of the inside information, like that's absolutely going to cross my mind. It's like I see this one guy getting whooped in his bowl game and staying and playing the entire game, and then I've got this other guy who was in a nail biter and opts out in the second half. Like you can't tell me not to. That has to matter when I'm looking at the last college game you played. This is what happened.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I guess me and Ben Dover are kind of on the same page. I can see where it affects it, but also like kind of not playing at all. What like does that say something too?
I'd rather see him not play at all than just dip out at halftime.
So it's just the optics. It's the
Yeah.
optics of it.
I think for the most part, like Cam's saying, I think now there's too many bowl games, like to where they don't mean as much anymore, and you're going to get some kind of consolation game to play at the end of the year if you get 6 wins.
Yeah, if you're
Like,
average.
Yeah, so I think there needs to be a shortage of bowl games. I know there's a ton of money involved and sponsorships involved and all that, but if it was limited down to like 6 to 8 bowl games for like the 6 to or like let's say like the 12 to 16 teams that didn't make the playoff, I think those would be a lot more valued in the sense of guys playing in them and the wins of those bowl games actually meaning something a little bit more than just saying, okay, we're going to throw you guys in the Pop-Tart Bowl this year, and if you win, now it doesn't really mean crap. And half your team's going to sit out. So,
I mean,
it's just like
the thing is, though, you got these group of 5 teams that are fired up to play these bowl games. So, like, it's tough to get rid of them, but I think you can manage who you.
Well, they're
put
revenue
in.
generating as well.
Yeah.
They generate revenue.
The one thing too is like the reason a lot of teams like being bowl eligible is not to play the game. It's because you
It's
get
the
an extra.
practice.
You get an extra 22 practices.
The practice.
Because
And I get that part as well.
once your season's over, you're done. Like you can't
Yeah.
practice anymore. But if you make a bowl game, you get extra practices.
Josh Pate, he said it well. Like you got to look at bowl games in a lot of these cases as like spring previews. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of like it's like almost like the preseason for spring, which I
Right.
get.
And that would help too. Like, you guys saw the videos of the quarterback at Colorado getting to practice with the team a little bit,
Yeah.
instead of having to wait all the way
Yep.
till like whenever they start in April, I think. So it's just that's a good point to it to add is like you get kind of your freshman guys coming in, maybe acclimated a little bit sooner than normal, but at the same time, it's not like they're going to be in the facility starting January 1st anyway. So
Yeah,
Which-
mine is I think yes, the bowl games need to matter on the field, but I don't think that's what college is going for, to be honest. It's to make money,
Yeah.
one, but also it's to get the players extra reps, all that kind of stuff. That's why becoming bowl eligible is so important, even if like it's kind of a lost season like it was for Florida or Oklahoma. Getting that sixth win was so important because for all the freshmen, underclassmen, or the freshmen like coming in, you get those extra practices.
And a lot of them get in the game, so they get
Mhm.
live game reps.
But
to
man,
Nate's point, though, I think bowl games, because everybody likes to just talk about the guys that get drafted and don't play. But there's also probably 90% of the guys that don't get drafted. So, I mean, to go out there and have, say, your 25 to 30 teammates that you've been battling with all season to get to that point, even if it's not the highest stage of college football, you still made it to that spot. And to kind of leave them high and dry is kind of, I can't understand that. I mean, if it were me, I can understand if you're a guaranteed first rounder, maybe taking the half off. But if you're not that, you got to play in that football game.
I think if I'm a team like I think this is why. If I'm a team like Miami or if I'm a team like Bama and I got snubbed from the college football playoff and I was like a game away, like this bowl game is important to me to show what everyone was missing.
Right.
Like if I'm that person, like that's like it's a like I'm a come at you game and I'm going to show you why you
Well,
should have picked us instead.
Bama has
You know,
zero opt-outs.
all these guys,
That's I feel like that's how it should have been. Is like if you're one of those like fringe teams, like if you're Pitt and you're seven, I get Eli Holst, I get it. Like I get certain guys not playing. Like if you're Georgia Tech, even you know, I get it. I get
here's
certain guys not,
another
but they all played anyways except for Singleton. So I don't know.
another argument is guys opt out because they don't want to get hurt and they don't want to lose money in the draft. But how much money are these teams paying these people to play at their colleges now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, and they
Like
all a lot of them get disability.
Cam Ward got paid a lot of money to play Miami football.
Dude,
So he needs to be playing Miami football.
if NCAA gets a commissioner and it so happened is a guy like Nick Saban or anybody that has them beliefs, I see it coming. If you do not play in the bowl game and that it's structured, you get NIL taken away from you, like a certain amount for not playing in the bowl game.
I don't mind that, but
I
to
think
also
that's fair.
play a
Yeah.
little devil's advocate, like where was I going? It was what were you guys talking about right before Brandon said about the playing like Cam Ward was paid? I had something to play devil's advocate towards it, even though I agree with you. Oh yeah, like so like Miami, Bama, they played
Fringe teams.
like fringe teams to play what they show what they're missing. But honestly, what's that gonna change? You're not in no matter what.
No,
Like
but guys can raise draft stock.
yeah, but like that's a whole nother argument to argue like to say like okay, this is why we should have been in. You're not going to get in regardless.
I mean, but I'm like a chip on my shoulder kind of guy. Like that's just me as like an athlete, as like
Yeah.
someone that played a
I
sport
agree with
at
you.
a decent level. Like
And
maybe
for
it's just how I think in that like if I was there, this is how I would think, which is
Well-
obviously not how everyone else is going to think, but that's just how my brain operates.
if you flip it, Cam, same thing. Like where Florida State kind of shot themselves in the foot last year, where they go undefeated, their quarterback gets hurt, and they don't make the playoffs, and everybody from Florida State's like moaning and complaining they didn't make the playoffs, and then they get absolutely smacked by Georgia. So it's like, there you go. That's why you didn't make the playoffs. So
and then look at their next year.
But they also had
See how it snowballs.
yeah.
They
So
also,
I mean,
they
there's
also
definitely
had
a point there.
half their team opted out of that game too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which my thing is like, I think Bama's looking at SMU and Clemson. I told y'all Clemson's game was not as close as the scoreboard. Don't care what anybody says. And SMU got smacked. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm Alabama, I'm going out there and I'm like, well, I'm gonna show you why we should have been in. Like, we would not have got smacked by 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns at Penn State. You know.
And if you guys get to play Michigan, like you're gonna win that game.
No, I'm just saying in general. Like,
To be honest, if I'm an NFL guy, I mean, talking about draft stock, I would like that in a player. You know what I mean? Like if the guy's team gets left short of the playoff, but he still wants to go out there and ball out for his team and prove that they should have been part of the playoff. I mean, if I'm an NFL guy, that's another check mark on a box right there.
And like
He's a gamer.
I'm with you. Like that's a gamer. Like that's someone that I want on my. But I don't. Maybe not everyone puts that stuff first. Like maybe like other different people think differently. That's just where my brain goes.
I completely agree with y'all. That's just why, like, I'm playing devil's advocate because someone has to. So that's why. Also, coming in from the chat, we could go down this rabbit hole for about a year. Someone said if you just fix the timing of the transfer portal, trust me, we know.
Yeah, I mean,
that'll have to be
that's
fixed.
the real. That's kind of the real.
And then
thing.
also eventually, there will be full on contracts with NIL.
I think there should be.
Like all that.
I
kind of stuff.
agree.
We're
Here's
going
something-
towards that because they're
here's
already
something to
signing
think about.
deals
2-year
to stay.
contracts. Like, would you sign on 2 years? Like, you have to stay at that school.
I would love that. I
Well,
would love that.
here's
They
something
don't
to
all
think
have to
about.
be that, but I would love that in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
Like Malik Murphy, for example. Like you got to transfer out of Texas and go to Duke. You should be there. You should be at Duke for 2 years.
Look at TJ Finley.
Six schools in 5 years.
I just
Crazy.
like that's like I feel like that first transfer out, like maybe you get some grace with that, but like once you sign a deal after that first transfer, like I would expect some sort of
See,
commitment.
Didn't
what
you
I
used to have
wanted
to
with the
sit out?
transfer portal is, you used to have to sit out. Usually,
Yeah, a year,
it used
yeah.
to be like you have to sit out a year first transfer. What I didn't mind about the transfer portal is that you didn't have to sit out after your first transfer. The second transfer is where I think you should have to sit out.
Yeah.
Just
There's
because-
got to be something. There has
I
to
don't-
be like some way to make it less attractive to
I don't
transfer out a
mind
second time.
after the first, like for the first one, because honestly, like when it was, you have to sit out with your first transfer. Some people appealed it and were able to play the next year. Some people weren't. So like it kind of wasn't set in stone. It was kind of like biased a little bit, like for graduates, people that would only have 1 year left.
Yeah.
So
But I think it should be set in stone. You get one free transfer. After that, you have to sit out a year.
I don't want to go too deep into this rabbit hole, but y'all think of this too. If things are going the way they're going with, like, Diego Pavia getting granted the extra year, like Justin Jefferson, linebacker for Alabama, he might get granted that extra year because he played JUCO. There ain't gonna be schools for people to transfer to. Rosters are gonna be full.
And they're trying to cut
that's what-
rosters
that's-
down
that's-
too.
That's what I'm saying. We can
Yeah.
go so far
Those
down that, like,
scholarships. Yeah.
Yeah.
you're gonna have 27-year-old. Think of this. You're gonna have a 27-year-old linebacker just smashing a 17-year-old Ryan Williams across the middle. Like, dude, it's not even fair. Like,
I mean, yeah, we had
Yeah.
what, a 28-year-old, 29-year-old tight end playing for Miami this year.
9 years, right? Or 8
Yeah,
years. What was it?
like
8 years. Yeah,
he's
he's a doctor now.
I get there's medical red shirts and red shirts. I think a person should get max 6 years. That should be the cutoff. Red shirt and medical red shirt.
That's what I
Yeah,
got.
man. I was a fifth year and they said I was old. So
Yeah,
like
I got a 6.
these guys, the 8 years is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like
Cam Rising.
Cam Rising gets another. We could go down a rabbit hole. Someone in the chat said pause. Did anyone say anything sus? I can't remember.
I said I don't want to go deep in the rabbit hole.
That could count.
That
might
what you
count.
mean.
That might count.
And yes, COVID years should be about over. I'm pretty sure they are over.
I think
this
they
is
are
this was the last
after this year. Yep, that's after this
But
year. They should be done.
with how they've been granting just random New Year's of eligibility to everyone, it'll never end.
The problem is some court, like Diego Pavia, some court in the middle of a state can just say, "Oh yeah, you can play extra years of college football." Like without a commissioner, NCAA is going to spiral out of control.
The pause was to a 27-year-old smashing a 17-year-old. Ryan Williams.
That counts too. That was also Nate. That counts
That's a case. That's a case.
See, none of us thought that, especially coming from me. Whoever thought that was very dirty minded.
Yeah, that's on whoever's in the chat.
Yeah.
I mean, his name is Bend Over.
All right.
Pretty sure it's Parker.
That don't surprise me. Never mind.
So real quick, well, game 3. We don't have to talk too much about this one. BYU and Colorado. BYU takes care of business, 36-14. Any thoughts on this one?
That was bad.
That is a thought.
Can I first say quick, even if that is Parker or not, Bend Over's in here every week.
Oh,
Bend
yeah.
Over.
Shout out Bend Over.
And, Bend Over.
Old reliable.
He's clicked the bell, man. He knows when we're live.
Yeah, old reliable. Bend Over.
Shout out. Also, he was in when we were doing NFL. C-Dog done. I did the anytime touchdown parlay that you wanted. Didn't hit it because freaking Bucky Irving can't score from the 1 yard line.
He had like 200 yards from scrimmage and couldn't get in the end zone.
And then
that's
A-Chain didn't score anyway, but we would have been at least going into the second slate with it 4 for 5. But I felt like I was cooking when I picked a 250 Adam Thielen to score, and he did on the first drive of the game.
Yeah, first drive.
But yeah, so shout out C-Dog done.
So going to the game, my biggest thing on the game is how do you get a customized Rolls Royce plane to go to Texas and get your just eyes beat in? That's kind of all I got on it.
I don't know if they were like super motivated, but I feel like they were. But like
Shador and Travis Hunter,
they said they were.
they
said they wanted to play.
I'm just curious if Dion really put him on Southwest on the way back, like he said he was.
He should have made him walk.
No, man, that's just a simple. I think that game was just simple. BYU wanted it more. They felt they had more to prove. I mean,
the Mormons,
they were out for it. Like they showed up.
What day they play on? What day they play on?
Saturday, right?
Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday. Yeah.
Not a church day, so.
So for Miami and Iowa State, I hit the over on Miami's points. Brandon had the Miami cover. That did not happen. It would have happened, Brandon. But that's why he's mad. I'm mad too, though, so yeah. I get it. Will had over 55.5, and Nate had the Iowa State cover. He knew Cam Ward was going to sit. He had the insider scoop. He knew Cam Ward was going to sit the second half.
No, I just knew Iowa State could score.
That kind of stuff. It should retract.
Void it. It should void it.
Yeah, that should
kind of agree.
Like, who can sit there and plan for the starting quarterback to sit the second half?
Yeah,
I mean,
rough.
yeah, but we could say that, but like in our NFL picks, I had Colts -7, and freaking at the time Richardson was playing, and now he's then Flacco.
We had a couple of those
instances on baseball for Bovada. Like if the starting pitcher was ruled out after you took the bet.
Oh yeah, it was void. Yeah,
voided out. Yep, that's true.
But what if he would have pitched 5 innings? It's the same.
If he goes out
Cam
there,
Ward, he went out there.
If he gets benched,
he went out there.
He went out there.
They should have been up by 20, and then none of this would have happened.
If it was a player prop, do you think you would get your money back?
Yeah, player prop. I'm pretty sure Prize Picks rebooted it because usually you only do like if you don't play in the second half, then you get a reboot.
That's correct.
Like Bovada or like a FanDuel probably wouldn't.
Facts. And then BYU, Colorado. Yeah, that's
Colorado was invested in recruiting.
That was going to be my point in the Colorado game. Is I think they had way too many outside distractions aside from the bowl game. I mean, they flew on a Rolls Royce plane. Saw videos about that. You got Shador and Shiloh having videos coming out. They're already talking about who they're going to get drafted to, this and that. Yeah. There was very little prioritization on BYU.
I know the 100% reason that they lost. Shador wore some giant cleats. That's why.
Yeah.
Anything with the New York Giants.
Dion sent them to the mall and did Christmas gifts for each other. Like, Like, they were not focused on this game.
At least they had a
And
good time.
let's just be honest. Travis Hunter's had some distractions going his way for the last 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad ones.
It's impossible for him to focus on football.
He still had a good game. I'm pretty sure he still had 100 receiving yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he had a
Yeah, he
tutty
did.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
A nasty one. That touchdown was nasty.
Yeah,
He juked
the touchdown was
that
great.
That juke was filthy.
Situation is crazy. I don't even
for
know
real.
what. I don't even want to get into it.
That game, Brandon had the Colorado cover. Will had Colorado over 28.5. Nate had over 54.5. Cam had BYU covering. So
And
I
he
am
knew
the only. I'm the only one.
Yes, but also I want to preface what. So we went to record on Friday. Cam, the first thing he says to me, he says, "I hate my pick on BYU now."
I did, but I
First
couldn't
thing he
change
says
it.
to me.
But
and it
I didn't change it.
bangs.
I didn't change it, and we won.
I thought the
So-
over was automatic.
That was like what I was gonna go with, and then
I
I,
mean,
just
if-
thought
If
I don't know
Colorado
what I
plays
thought, but-
decent, they goes over because BYU scored 36.
Dion made the plane
they
too
did their
comfortable.
job.
They didn't even
Yeah.
get off that plane. I
Nope.
wouldn't either.
Nope.
Did y'all real quick? Did y'all see the Texas Tech and Arkansas over? Did y'all hit that at all?
I don't think we covered that
I
game.
didn't
It was
play.
53.
What was the score of that game?
They scored like 70.
That one going to overtime?
I don't think it went to overtime.
The only thing I remember from that game is the Arkansas guy stepping on the Texas Tech ankle.
Yeah.
Bad look. Bad. look.
Yes, horrible. Like,
He
why are
should
we
be-
doing
He
that?
should be fined. He should be suspended. Disavow that.
Disavow. All
He
right.
has to
Anything
transfer
else?
to Kennesaw State. That's his punishment.
That's a punishment and a half. Anything else? I think we can go into these previews if y'all are ready.
I'm
Yeah, let's do
ready.
it.
Let's start with the tomorrow's game. This thing's tomorrow, y'all. Freaking stoked.
So excited.
Penn State and Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl.
Ooh.
Where's this? Glendale, Arizona, right?
Yes.
Arizona.
You're
Whoever. Go ahead. Let's deep dive this, and then we
so-
got to have picks. Hold on. Let me work on the spreadsheet while you guys get started here.
So I'm the one that had Boise State as an upset, so I'll go first.
Wow.
Oh, just let me finish talking. In my bracket, y'all know I had Boise State
All
pulling
right.
off the upset.
Trash.
Okay?
Yeah.
But as y'all say, I'm trying to make money, so I'm not gonna bet their money line on this. I'm
yeah,
actually-
money line makes you a lot of money.
I know, but I'm gonna bet them to cover the plus 11.5. I'm being smart here. Now I'll probably sprinkle some on the money line, but I'm gonna put most of it on the cover. I'll just go back to what I said. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Boise State, if they stay ahead of the chains, if Ashton Genty can get going on first down, I think they can really compete in this game. Also, he's had 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
weeks off. He's gonna be well rested. I think
won't matter.
he could give them some trouble. And me and Will talked about it before y'all got on here. Listen, if this game goes under, obviously Boise State would cover. But I think if this game goes under, they could win.
I think there's
So
maybe
you have
Will
Boise
will
plus what? Boise
Plus
plus what?
11.5.
Okay.
I mean,
Maybe
it's just such a
Will-
big number.
will agree with me here. I think there's too much stock being put in Genty's rest. Because, yes, he's a good running back. Yes, he'll be rested. But this Penn State defense is good. They're big. They're physical. I don't think he'll have a game. I think he might get a little exposed here, and they're really in trouble if they can't run the football.
No, yeah, I just think though, like I said, I think there's going to be one upset in this playoff. I think if it happens in any of the games, it's going to be this one. Like I don't think Arizona State beats Texas, honestly.
I think you're right there. This might be the only one you could consider an upset.
Yeah, and that's
Because Arizona State ain't beating Texas. I think if Notre Dame beats Georgia, that's not I wouldn't consider that a huge upset, really. I mean,
It would have
they're
if
the favorite.
Beck played.
yes.
Right. And then Ohio State and Oregon is coin flip to me. So
I
I
just
think
think
this is your only option for upset.
like out of all the games, I don't think this is a bad matchup. Like I think
I think it's a horrible matchup for Boise.
I mean
Penn State's run defense is elite, top 10 in the country, looked very good against SMU. And to the chat's point, it's not even Genty. And that's why I'm picking Penn State to cover. I have my podcast pick is 11.5, but I will buy it up to 13.5 for plus money.
To me,
Um,
if I'm Penn State, my entire game plan that I've been working on for the last 10 days is to stop the run. Like
Dare Maddox
if,
Madsen to beat you,
right.
and he won't.
If I'm Penn State, anybody beats us except Ashton Genty this game. So if they do that, force them to do that, that's a tough way to win. That's a tough ask for
If
Boise
they do
State
that,
anyway.
tip the cap, they're the better team.
Right.
It's not going to happen though. Like,
And as Will knows, I'm not even that high on Boise State or on Penn State.
yeah, man
But-
said he was like they're like not even a top 10 team last week.
Maybe scrape 10. I think Nate would
close.
agree. I think Nate agrees with
No.
that.
For Penn State or for Boise, you talking?
I'm talking Penn State,
I
maybe
wouldn't
at
say
like 10.
straight 10, but like if you
Boise
put them
State,
head with a
they're
lot of
like
teams, I got them in the top
20th.
10, but they're like I'd say 7 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, I the only reason was because I had like Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, and then I put like Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and then I think it was Penn State after that.
Nate does think Troy is a top 10 team.
Hey, I'm just
100%.
saying. I was high on Troy. What was it last year? They went 10-2, or the year before? Y'all
Yep.
called
I
me
think
crazy.
it was last year, but
Last
what
year.
didn't this year they go like
No, they were
two
bad. this
two
year.
and 10?
It was bad.
They
Bad year.
reversed.
Bad year.
Yeah.
I think pick
go ahead.
wise, I'm
Wait, Will, what'd you have? What'd you have, Will?
I had Penn State cover minus 11.5.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go with the under 52.5 because I don't think Boise will score at all. And I mean, realistically, I think the highest scoring I would pick would be like a 30-10 game here. So I don't know if this necessarily comes close to 52.5. Unless
42-10.
just goes off.
So I was saying something around the 30-19, 31-20, which would be a cover for me. So
That would still be an under.
yes.
I've been waiting patiently for you guys. So thing one, how does Boise State stop Penn State from scoring?
They don't.
Defense.
Okay, so you look at Boise State.
Boise has no pass rush whatsoever.
Boise State has like the 23rd ranked run defense. They're actually pretty good at stopping the run, but they only faced a lot of G5. The one time they faced a running back who was like a Power 5 running back was against Oregon, and he got 6 yards per carry. So I feel like Penn State's going to be able to run the ball and do whatever they want right there. The one area where I differ from you guys, I think Genty's going to get his. I'll be honest with you. Like this is a first round draft pick for a reason. Like you have to, even if the rest is whatever to me. Like I'm going off of this team was 3 away from beating Oregon, and it's because Genty went for like 150 and dominated that game. It's not because the quarterback did. Genty did his thing. Warm climate. Like you're in it's not a cold weather game. There's no advantage for Penn State there. Now, I think the cold weather actually hurt Penn State's offense a little bit against SMU as well. So again, I think Penn State gets theirs, and I think they win this game fairly comfortably. But I think Genty gets to 150 yards. Now, whether he gets it on 18 carries or on 39 carries is what we have to decide.
It's a 30 for 150 game.
That's what I'm saying.
Screaming.
So, I think he gets there, and I think Boise State scores enough behind him to push this game over 51.5.
This is also true. I don't think 250, but I do see the point where like people will say he's overrated because he doesn't run for 250. He's facing Penn State, a top 10 defense in the country. If he gets it depends on how he gets 150. If he he's not going to carry the ball 50 times. But if he went 50 for 150, yeah, that's just death by volume.
I mean,
go ahead.
How many games did Derrick Henry have of 250 yards? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. But if he gets to 150, I think they score 20 points. I think they score
Yeah.
20. If he has that many rushing yards, that means they traveled the field, and then it's just red zone execution, which that's the if factor, right? Because Penn State in the red zone defensively is one of the best in the country. So like that's the one part that's kind of iffy. I think Boise State moves the ball.
Cam, this is from your sister. Dude,
It's
does it? What's the
yeah,
score
they're
to it? What's the score?
21-13 49ers. They're about to score. The Lions are about to score again, so don't worry about it.
Rent is due
Lions are
soon. Yeah, rent's due tomorrow for me. So yeah, we
Lions
gotta.
are a second half team. Don't worry about it. Unless Dan sits his guys, and then we got issues. But yeah, I think if Genty runs to that degree, they probably scored points. There is absolutely no way they stop Penn State from scoring. I think Penn State can get 38 points. And if Penn State gets 38 points, then they only got to score 2 touchdowns, Boise State does. And then the over 51.5 hits. So for me, I think that's the safest play. I would lean a Penn State cover, but games with like when it's climate controlled tends to be a lot of offense anyways. And so I have a hard time. Like there's like this part of me that's like, it might be a shootout, which would go against everything. But there's just this small part in like the back of my head where they might trade blows, which Penn State would win that game as well.
Yeah.
So the over is what I like.
The one reason I almost went to under is because, like I said, if Boise State can stay ahead of the chains, they can really eat away the clock with that run game.
There will be like there's at least like one play, usually a drive, where a quarterback has to make a play. And do I trust Maddox Madsen to make that play consistently against Penn State's defense?
He did it
No,
against
I don't.
Oregon now. He did it against Oregon.
One play a drive is very doable, even for average quarterbacks.
He did it against Oregon. He made enough plays to make it competitive.
But is Oregon's defense really like elite category?
No, they're just a good football team. I think they're
because I mean, they gave up 30 plus to Ohio State, right? They gave up a lot
37
to
to Penn
right?
State.
Yeah.
37 to Penn State. I mean, my thing is like, I think this is a different Penn State defense than what it has been. And I think if Oregon and Boise State played in the playoff, I don't think Boise's putting up 34. It's just a different feel than a regular season game.
Yeah.
And I just think, like we talk about, maybe the Maddox guy has to make one play a drive. Well, if you totally run commit and stack the box, okay, let's force this dude to make like 6-7 plays a drive.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So he's definitely not that guy. So I think the speed, the physicality, Penn State's definitely going to come out there in somewhat of a traditional 4-3 at least, and stack the box and force the guy to make plays. And if that happens and Genty gets stuffed every carry, they're in trouble. And the under would look good.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very obvious statement, but Boise State is, I mean, if they stack the box, dude, you just live and die with play action during the game.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it's...
Which they do. They do that. I mean, that's how the passes are completed. It's a lot of play action. This is good because it's all 4 of us are leaning kind of like in a different direction. I would say, just looking at it, if you're having Boise State cover, you're probably having the over. The over probably happens. Like that's not going to be a low score. I don't know, dude. Like I think Boise State's going to have to score to keep up. And then if you've got Penn covering, you probably got like an under. You're probably leaning like a 38-10 in the under hits. So it's going to be interesting. I think like the sure thing is Penn State scoring. Like that's the sure thing. Penn State scores the football.
44.
No.
And then Will's taking like minus 14.
Man, so what was the team total? What was Penn State's team total?
It was like 32.5. It was ridiculous.
It was like 32.
That's pretty high. Dang,
Boise,
that's pretty high.
Boise State's was 19.5, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in there.
I'm more on the side of I want to see Boise State get exposed. So as there is some argument to be had about letting a G5 in the playoff. That's where I'm at.
Well,
I know I'm taking the under, but I'm assuming it's going to be like 35-10.
That's kind of like how I see it. Like if you have the under, you probably think Boise's not going to score.
Unfortunately, with the format one has to get in, The seeding we can go all day about, but I think they definitely
The
should.
buys. It's the buys.
They've already talked about it, like even like
Well, I mean,
for potentially
see,
next year that they might do away with the auto buys, just auto bids.
that's a thing too. Is like, does one really have to get in? Like,
Does it have to happen?
we're like Nate, you're a good person to speak on this. Boise State took up a spot that Bama couldn't get.
Facts.
Is Bama a better football team than Boise State? Yes.
I think
Yeah.
head to head, but at the end of the day, I look at it as in like I'm biased. Don't get me wrong. We
That-
all are towards
Sure,
our team.
This
but
is like a participation thing. Like,
Boise
It's
State-
not even biased though.
Boise State did what they had to do, and Bama, choked it up against Vandy and Oklahoma. I mean, I think it's just that simple. Now, do I think they're a better team? Yes, but at the end of the day, I mean, Boise State took care of their schedule. And
I
know it
guess
was
I mean
easy,
I'm just a big advocate of I want the 12 best in. I don't want the most quote unquote deserving in. And like obviously if Bama played a G5 schedule, they'd be in every single year, right?
I hate the word
Yeah.
deserving, but I I'll say this. I
Like
think
just like let there be a G5 playoff. Give them a trophy for it.
The
you know?
G5 playoff.
Let them
dude,
go
that
Like
would
the,
be
like the
that-
FC like the
that would
FCS
be-
does.
that
Yeah.
would be so exciting.
It's just then if we take them out, it's going to be the same situation every year with the UCF where they proclaim themselves national champions because they didn't get a shot. You
Yeah.
give one team a shot, you're like, okay, go have at it, and they'll get blown out every year, hopefully.
Well, they did to Cincinnati a couple years later, and Bama absolutely shut them out.
Yep. So I mean, I'm just under the argument of I want to see Boise State get exposed. That way, there's no more like, this G5 deserves a bye. They did what they had to do. Yada yada yada.
No, I disagree
It's
with the
like-
bye.
Come on, man. Like, because
No
like,
buys.
let's be honest.
No buys.
The better matchup would have been to, like, instead of who didn't get a bye, like Ohio State against Tennessee, right? Like if you switch that and take Boise State versus Tennessee,
I think it's a
might be-
good game.
that's probably a better game, right? Then you can
Yeah.
figure out who deserves.
And
to
Tennessee
be in
doesn't
it.
have to show up shirtless in Ohio and
like, but
probably have a better shot.
like if we want to talk about deserving, okay, well Ohio State deserves a bye more than Boise. Let the G5 get in, but make them play somebody tough.
Like, that's
first
the
round.
ultimate. Yeah, like this is the ultimate. Like if a G5 gets in,
Make
it
'em
should
prove
be.
it.
They have to prove themselves at that
Yeah.
point. Like you got in, you got what you want. Like you have to prove yourselves.
Right.
Not in the quarterfinals.
Which I misunderstood the playoff the whole time. I thought they were automatically in the 12 spot until
No,
I was
yeah,
midway through
Yeah,
the season.
until chaos ensued.
Yeah.
It's that's what the plan was.
Because that's what they thought was going to happen.
It was the top 4 championship winners get the bye, and they expected the Big 12 and the ACC to be ranked higher than the Group of 5 champion.
No,
Didn't happen.
BYU
But-
had to choke it up.
BYU and SMU. SMU, I think, would have jumped them if they beat Clemson.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. We good with this one? Want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
We're
Yeah,
gonna go Texas and Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. This is down in Atlanta. Very exciting. Texas favored by 13 last I looked, unless it changed. Over unders at 51.5. What do you guys got?
I think it's up to 13 and a half, if I'm not mistaken.
Which
it's.
is wild because
I think 13 and a
it-
half was at even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was minus 14 last week when we talked about it. So
Yeah.
What I got.
Yep.
I'm going with a little Nate play here. Texas minus 6.5 in the first half. I
Okay.
honestly think this will be almost the exact same game script as the Clemson game. Texas will come out, punch them in the mouth, probably be up 20 points, around 20 points at halftime. And then they'll take their foot off and either almost be a backdoor cover or a backdoor cover for Arizona State.
I'm with you in a sense. I think there's no backdoor cover to be had though. I think you're smart taking the 6.5 halftime. I think I might buy the whole thing up. Might like maybe go Texas minus 15 or 16.
Is Arizona State better than Clemson in your eyes?
Not really.
Arizona State is better than Clemson at the most important aspect of this game, run defense. Texas is not going to run for 300 yards against Arizona State.
Yeah, it'll be
That is the
290.
that is the only that is the only Arizona State's run defense is actually not that shabby. That is the main difference in this game. I
But
think both. Go ahead.
I
I'll
think
be patient.
Texas. You could flip. You could convince me that either Texas or Georgia has the best defense in the country, both of them. And I don't think Arizona State's going to be able to do anything on offense. It's been fun watching
I don't know.
Scatabo do his
I
thing.
think
I don't.
Scatabo can still run.
I
No,
don't know.
he started talking some crazy stuff.
No,
I think
he
Texas is gonna
said.
be motivated.
I believe him. He said no one can stop me. I believe that man because you know why?
I do not.
'Cause he's got a great name. He's got a great name.
I don't believe
And
him
we'll
because
say some
they're-
crazy stuff from time to time, but from time to time it works out, and this might be one of those times.
I don't believe him at all because there are probably 10 guys in the locker room at Texas that are probably 100 pounds heavier than him and run faster than him and bench twice as more than him. So
And they're all playing D line.
Yep, and I fully believe that they are able to and more than capable of stopping him in a run game.
I might be the only one here. I still think Scatabo could potentially be an SEC running back.
He absolutely is. He's the third best running back in the nation.
Mhm.
He's the third best in the nation.
Someone in the chat said no one can stop him from going to the buffet. I wouldn't go that far.
No, he's built like that guy that used to play for the Packers back in the day. Forgot
Eddie
his name.
Lacy.
Eddie Lacy. Yeah.
Bro, that man got fat.
Yeah. It's like Eddie Lacy before year 6 in the NFL.
But
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like a what was his name? No, the guy with the Browns that just fell off randomly.
The guy on the
Gerhart?
cover?
Toby Gerhart, is that his name?
Not the
No.
guy you're talking about the guy on the
Yeah.
cover?
Yeah, Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis. Peyton Hillis.
Yeah, he's built like that. He's a big
Yeah.
white guy that can run.
I would say in the argument against Clemson and Arizona State, it's Clemson's roster wise at least has guys similar to Texas as far as like a physicality and a speed standpoint. So you could see the argument of where the backdoor cover in that game would have been a little bit more favorable. But in terms of Arizona State versus Texas and just the roster size, speed, strength, all that, I think if Texas ran their backups out there at every single position, they still win the game by a touchdown and a half. So
Does Sam Levitt play as good as Cade Klubnik did?
I think he can. I think
Yes,
that's where the
he
two
can.
teams are very similar. The two teams are very similar from that
The
standpoint.
one thing that I think is Cade has seen that. When has Sam Levitt seen that?
That's
Never.
fair. That's fair.
And
That's
I also
fair.
think Cade
But
Klubnik-
I was going off of talent. I was going off like Sam Levitt
Talent,
and,
sure,
and,
yeah.
and Klubnik are very similar quarterbacks with very similar skill sets.
Cade Klubnik also had a lot of motivational factors going into that game where, there's no chance he was giving up, seeing that his history being from Texas, playing against Quinn Ewers, all that. From an Arizona State standpoint, I think if Texas goes up big in the first half, it's just like a clear night and day. Okay, we're not at this level. We got here, that's great. We did the thing. Now this is just a little bit more difficult for us. So I'm gonna go like pick wise for the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go with Texas minus 13.5.
I got you at Texas minus 13.
Yeah.
I am taking the Arizona State cover plus 13. I'm telling you, I have watched both teams. I watch Clemson every weekend. Arizona State is a very similar football team in terms of skill set and talent. They just defend the run better. They have the same type of quarterback. They have a better running back than Clemson does. Phil Maffa is not a great running back. He's an okay running back. Cam Scatabo is like a high-end running back.
He's good when he's healthy.
They are, yeah, but he never is that and wasn't for most of the year. So he was like a 2.8 yards per carry kind of guy. So like a healthy Maffa, yeah, sure, maybe. But a healthy running back that is, to me, a top 3. But I think you can't argue he's a top 10 running back. Clemson doesn't have that regardless. Another a quarterback that is similar to Cade Klubnik and a better run defense. They do not win this game, but I think they can they can lose by less than 14.
Yeah. So I was actually considering the cover, but I'm going to stay away from that. I think both teams, I don't know who's going to score 30, who's whatever. I think both teams are going to be able to score. So I'm going to take the over in this game.
What was it at? 51 and a half?
What did I just saw? Hold up.
I wrote it down. 51 and a half.
Yeah, I thought it was a little higher than that right now.
Run me through how Arizona State scores the football.
Running the ball with effectiveness, and then using the play action off of that, and then Levitt's going to have to do some with his legs as well.
I will
He's an
say,
athletic fella.
That's good. That's good
I'm
in theory, but have we not seen Texas's run defense?
Yeah. Do you think Arizona State can score 20?
No.
I think they can in a backdoor fashion.
Yeah, they can definitely score that.
So
That's the only. If this is a close game, all game, Texas defense has their foot on the pedal all game, they score 17.
Hey.
But if it's like the Clemson game, then I think, okay, Texas is up 20, 25. They take their foot off. Then Arizona State can score.
Man, you know what else? You know what else this game is? This is the first look-ahead game in the history of the college football playoff. Texas knows they're going to win this thing. They are looking ahead to their semifinal matchup. I don't care what anyone says. If you know who you've got on the docket in 10 days and you know who you're playing tomorrow or Wednesday, like I'm not saying I'm trying less, but I am leaving stuff hidden for the following week. Like I'm not showing my entire playbook. I'm going to leave some stuff in.
But do they know who they're going to play though?
They know that's going to be a good team. They know it's going to be a team better than Arizona State. They know that for a fact.
Hey, all I know is 32-20. The cover hits and my over hits.
38-12.
I think
they might score more than 32.
No, I was just saying, like if it's around that.
38-12.
What's Arizona's point at, Will?
19. Are you talking about
19 and a half?
19 and a half.
Yeah, that's a stretch for me there. I'm thinking the line should be like 10.
I would say 17
Crazy.
and a half is where I would go.
First half.
That's
I'm
crazy.
10, man.
9.5 is their first half. Yeah,
that is wild.
I mean, I think there's a little bit too much stock put in on Arizona State's running ability and too little stock put in on Texas's defense.
Dude, I mean, it's been proven, and we've talked
They
about
gave
it
up
all
24 to Clemson.
Yeah,
They gave up 24 to Clemson.
Me and Will's argued about this. A good defense can't stop a good offense. I mean, that's.
Well, we're talking about Arizona State like they have an elite offense.
They have a better offense than Clemson.
They have
110%.
SEC caliber running back.
All right.
I'm with Brandon.
They definitely have that. They definitely have that.
I mean,
he is definitely an SEC running back.
Yeah, but
for sure.
What teams has he had to run against all year?
Hey, who's
all Power 4 ones, and he dominated them.
So
maybe he doesn't dominate the SEC ones, but he probably does pretty good.
I mean,
Who dominated week in and week out in the SEC? Who dominated?
I'm telling you,
nobody does.
Okay, so he would probably be just like them.
I mean, well, then I could go out there and be just like that.
He reminds me a lot like Schrader at Mizzou last year.
Maybe.
He's bigger than Schrader, and he's less of a passing threat.
The way he runs reminds me a lot of him.
But Texas's defense, and you cannot convince me otherwise, is either 1 or 2 in the country.
I'm not disagreeing with
scheme, as far as team speed, as far as anything they want to do on defense, they're going to do it. They're going to be able to stop you in multiple ways.
I just think Scotabo is a better running back than he's getting credit for.
I'm with both of you guys.
Okay.
I think.
Explain that.
I mean, I've said it. If this is a close game, I'm with Brandon. The Texas defense has their foot on the pedal all game. Arizona State does not score. If it's not a close game, backdoor, then Arizona State can cover or can score more than 20.
So do you think Scottibo's good?
I think he's fine. Yeah, I think
that's what me and Cam was waiting for.
That's the real question here. How do you feel about Cam?
I don't think Scottibo's bad. I just don't like there's 11 guys on Texas's defense that are probably going to be playing on Sunday that are all more than capable of stopping him.
There's like 8.
Someone in the chat saying Will always playing devil's advocate. I have to. They won't play it.
Someone's got to be neutral. Someone has to be neutral.
I got to do it. And it's a damn fun job, too, because I'm just stirring the pot. I'm just stirring it. I'm getting Brandon riled up. Then you get Cam riled up.
I never get riled up in these. You got me riled up today. I'm losing composure.
You got riled up on last NFL because we were talking about the Georgia Tech game.
Because that was nonsense. That actually made me mad. The refs. Nope. I'm not gonna talk about the refs.
Just going on. We'll just do a little plug here. Check the Twitter out. I became very animated last night when the Falcons lost to the Commanders. So if you want to see me go through all the stages of grief, just go ahead and check that out at HTL_sports.
Is there a hashtag fire Raheem in any of those?
No, but I did say he's got to go. He has to go, blood.
Yeah, he's got to go.
Trade him for Dan Quinn.
No, we tried that.
You can trade head coaches. Like, it's fine. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, they talked about trading Kyle Shanahan. I don't know how it works, but you can trade.
Let's go get Kyle. Let's go get Kyle. He was here before.
Yeah.
Let's go get him.
Helped us almost win a Super Bowl.
I was thinking a little bit more like McCarthy. No, I'm just kidding.
No. What are you doing? No.
I mean, we had
Let's go
Belichick in
yeah, I was about to say we should have got Bill.
He literally interviewed and wanted the job.
No, I don't mind not having Bill because we're young, and Tom Brady carried Bill to a lot of those Super Bowls.
Bill would have taken us.
So he went to college instead, where the kids are even younger. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine somebody that drafts like Bill and then Arthur Blank in the same room together.
Raheem is a bum.
He's a bum. He doesn't know.
I
know how many timeouts he's got. Yeah, how many timeouts did he have?
I wouldn't mind Ben Johnson as well.
No, same with everyone else.
Yeah, like the one
gotta be
thing
realistic.
What sucks is Raheem's gonna be here another year at least, so we're not gonna get Ben. I'm trying to think of people that could potentially be out of a job 2 years from now, and my top choices would be potentially Kyle Shanahan if he still has another bad year, or if he doesn't get picked up, Mr. Mike Vrabel. That would be awesome.
If Arthur Blank
Vrabel's going to get picked up, I think.
If Arthur Blank pays me $60,000, I can figure out when to call a timeout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like yelling at the screen saying, "Why are we not calling a timeout?" And I don't coach at that level or any level.
What does Raheem do during the games except stare at the video board with his mouth open? He doesn't call plays.
Stares at it.
Your one thing should be to manage the clock. That's your one thing.
Right. And there's guys that's their job. Like
his scapegoat did not work out, and that was Kirk Cousins, I think.
Penix looks fine.
He looks good, dude.
No, I'm saying I think Kirk Cousins was like going to be Raheem's guy that could keep him there a while, and that
we're losing because of Kirk, and now we lost because of Raheem. There's no hiding anymore.
I could call a better timeout. Like everyone except Raheem.
Dude, I was texting you.
Yes, like, me and Cam were texting.
Why are we not calling a timeout?
I literally tweeted out. I said, I'll literally probably read it word for word because it's ingrained in my brain. Once at the end of the first half, cool. One mistake, fine. At the end of the game, with your season on the freaking line, that's when you don't. We'll move on.
No, actually, real quick, I've never seen a professional kicker kick a 50.
Yo, that was crazy. 10 yards. He missed that thing by 15 yards off the foot. I'm like, it's good. And they show the thing on the side, and he missed that thing by 20 yards. I couldn't believe it.
How are you in the NFL and you can't kick? You can't even make it.
It might have been good from 40. It might have been. That was insane. I couldn't believe that miss. Maybe he's left-footed. Like maybe he just used his wrong foot.
No, dude, that's
one of my friends said we should have let Bradley Pinion do it because he does the kickoffs. And
he can actually boot that thing. Yeah, he can boot that thing. I just don't know if he's accurate.
Well, at least he would have gave it a chance.
Well, if we'd have called a timeout and ran another play to get us a little closer.
And then he only misses it by 5 yards.
Yeah, it would have been
instead of 15. It would have been a competitive kick.
Pass. Now his accuracy looked pretty good on the kick.
Oh, he was right down the middle.
Off the foot, I was like, that thing's good, dude. we won this football game. It's the side view where we saw it was like a
Hey,
crazy distance
In the
short.
dome, it might have been only 10 yards short. So
Yeah, I mean,
There's probably some wind or something.
The
That
wind
had to
had
be.
to have a tornado. It
no,
had to
dude,
be.
no, I don't care if the wind's blowing against you. Like it's not that hard where you can't kick the ball 56 yards.
Like it had
I
to be
mean,
like
he has only been
gale
a
force
scout team
winds.
kicker for like the whole year.
I mean, yeah, like
Yeah,
it,
he's a
it's
practice
not, it's
squad
not,
guy.
It's not young way.
We gotta
But, like-
know that and say, okay, 56 ain't doable. We gotta
Yeah.
throw a 10-yard out route after a timeout and get this
After a
to maybe
timeout that
35.
we called
but the
because
thing
it's
is,
a smart thing
We
to do.
couldn't.
Yeah.
We couldn't.
way
We couldn't get
he-
him any closer because we didn't call a timeout.
the way where
Right.
he manages games is like, do you think he's seen him hit a 56-yarder before? Because it looks like he can't even get it there.
It wasn't even competitive, dude.
You think in
It's
practice he's hit it?
He had to have like mishit it, right? He
It was
had.
insane. It was
No.
insane.
I thought he hit it perfect.
I mean,
Alex
like,
Van de Yacht could have kicked it further. Like he
1000%.
could have got closer. Our,
well, Van
our soccer,
Vandy would be the best kicker in the league. Shout out Alex.
he's got a little boot on him, yeah. All right, let's go. We're going down rabbit holes here. We're getting in rabbit holes?
Deep.
And 17-year-olds
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah. This one's going off the rails. All right, let's dive back in. Ohio State and Oregon. You want to do Georgia last, or we want to do Ohio State?
We'll do
Oregon
Georgia.
last?
We'll do Georgia
Georgia
last.
last.
All right, so let's go Ohio State and Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State favored by 2.5. Last I looked, that has been pretty consistently at 2.5 for the last
Yeah.
few days. So I don't think that would move much. Over unders at 55.5. Go ahead, boys.
I have nothing on this game, but there's gonna be a lot of points scored. So give me the over. Both offenses look good.
I'm going to take the over.
as well.
I'm going to take the over in the podcast. What I'm going to do in real life is the over. You know, I think there's some recency bias. I would take Oregon money line. There's some great value in that. I think Oregon is a elite football team that is kind of being slept on. They're the number one seed for a reason.
Oregon
They went
also
13-0 for a reason.
has to travel less.
I mean,
that
yeah.
matters.
So
Somewhat.
Ohio
State has also started talking crazy.
Yeah.
Some motivational.
Yeah, talking about man coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm just seeing what the most important points I have here. If y'all got more, go ahead.
I
Fireworks.
am going to go with the recency bias, and I'm just going to go Ohio State money line. Just because I think, they lost in such a fashion already to Oregon this year that I think there's a lot of get back in the locker room right now. And I think Ohio State is playing their best football right now.
They are
I
peaking.
think that's a for sure. I know they had the Michigan game. I don't really look at that one as a crazy factor because they didn't even play Ohio State football.
Yeah, they
don't
tried to
know
change their
why.
whole scheme.
Yeah, so I don't know why they did that, but I think they Ohio State's defense, I will say, will probably have a better time of stopping Oregon this go around. And I think Ohio State's offense is always going to be Ohio State's offense, which just means score a lot of points. They have probably the best, let's say, 4 or 5 weapons at receiver and running back. It's just going to come down to if Will Howard can stay consistent like he was.
That, and I
against
think
Tennessee.
it's Dylan Gabriel. Like you got to get him off center, off key, which is very tough to do. He is a slippery guy. Ryan Day is also 2-6 versus top 5 teams.
Yep.
Yeah, but he was 1-6.
Yes.
I still
No, Tennessee went to top 5.
Oh, that's right. They were, what were they, 7, 8, or 9?
Something like that.
he's 7.
Yeah.
I still don't like Ryan Day whatsoever. Hope he still gets fired. So I would probably take Oregon money line, but
He won't get fired because of
No.
the absolute beatdown he put on Tennessee. I mean, like,
still
I
he
think
should.
I think it's a complete pick'em.
Yeah.
Like I could easily
Game
see
itself's a
Ohio
pick'em.
State. I could see Ohio State winning this football game.
No,
The
yeah, for
only reason I go Oregon is because you're getting the number 1 seed at plus money. That's why.
That's his
the value
favorite.
is
That's Will's
100%
favorite
there.
play. That's it. That's Will's
And
favorite.
it works.
think
It works.
I think there's a lot of hate on Ryan Day for being 2-6 against top 5 teams, But the top 5 teams off recent memory that he lost to was Michigan last year, who ended up winning the national championship. And then Georgia a year before that when Georgia won the national championship. And then obviously Michigan that year when they were still good. I mean, you think about
Hey.
it, like top 5 teams are hard to beat, obviously, right?
2 years in a row, he had to scrape by Northwestern. Just saying.
Honestly,
Right? I
his
mean, Oregon this year scraped by Boise State.
So, Brandon,
honestly,
what are
I
you
think
taking?
I wouldn't be shocked if his 2 wins are against Penn State, though, against the James Franklin, who cannot win big games.
I think
Brandon.
they are.
Brandon, what are you taking?
My pick is going to just be Ohio State money line. I know it's a safe one because it's probably like what, minus 125 at least.
Yeah, I think it's minus 120. Might be 130, but that's a lot. We allow that.
That's
All
fine.
right.
Yeah.
And I just think
Be bitched out.
there's
We allow it.
like Will, you're definitely right. I think Oregon is deserving of the number 1 seed, and they are that for a reason. But I think there's some momentum to be said about Ohio State right now, and like what my brain goes to for an example right now is like the MLB playoff style, especially like the Braves, where you get to bye, and then Philadelphia gets hot in the wild card round, and they come out and beat you. So I think this has a similarity of that, where Ohio State has gained a ton of momentum. They kind of transcended their football team after a loss to Michigan. Like I think, I think I gave the example last week of how Nate says that loss could be a really, really good thing for a team. And then to come out and beat down Tennessee like that, I think that kind of transcends the locker room into playing a lot better as a whole team. So I think the momentum's on their side. I think the recency bias is well deserving for Ohio State and Oregon. They're a good football team. Don't get me wrong, but they just haven't played a football game in 2 weeks. And their last game they did play was against Washington. So I think
I played Penn State.
Penn State, excuse me. But I think the preparation for this game and what Ohio State has seen in the last few weeks is going to more prepare them to win this football game outright. Like we talk about that early in the season, like, Ole Miss playing Kentucky first SEC game was definitely not prepared for that. And I think that leans toward Ohio State's favor, that they're going to be more prepared to play a battle of a football game that they got.
So there's kind of, there's like 2 schools here. One is like one team's got rest advantage, and you know how I feel about rest advantage. But there's another thing to be said about momentum. Momentum to me means more than rest.
Right.
Looking at how Ohio State, I don't want to use it as like a measuring stick for how they're going to play every single week, but when if that bleeds over at all into this game, that is the most dangerous set of skill players in all of college football.
It's the best team in football if they play like that every game.
I was going to say, this is just like you said, Will. I mean, if they played like that every game, they would easily be undefeated and easily be the 1 seed and be flipped.
So it's hard, but because I've only seen it a handful of times, if that, where they're really like they were just clicking. Every aspect of the game was just clicking. I have to view that as like not an anomaly, but like the higher end of like the parameters of like where they are as a football. Like you put the Michigan game at the bottom, right? And then you put the Tennessee game as like probably the upper echelon, like the very top. So they end up somewhere kind of like here, but I think like a little bit higher because of the momentum from the last game. The sure thing for me is Ohio State being able to score against Oregon.
Right.
If that carries over in any way, they might not get to 42, but the team total for them is only 27.5. I think they score 30 points, no problem, if they carry over any of that offensive momentum into this game, and they are facing a worse defense than the one they faced in Tennessee.
I mean, talk about rest advantage a little bit. Obviously, Oregon has the advantage there, but I mean, Tennessee, if you really think about it, in the Ohio State-Tennessee game, Ohio State really didn't have to do that much in the second half of the game.
That was a rest anyway.
Yeah,
that was
so,
yeah.
I mean, they're getting what, 10 days from the Tennessee game pretty much, and then that was only pretty much a battle for a half of football. So
yeah,
I don't see them. Obviously, I don't think they're beat up or anything like that.
It wasn't a battle for a half. It wasn't a battle at all.
Yeah,
first drive, everyone knew it was over.
Yeah,
and
game to me ended quicker than any of the others.
Impressive from Ohio State that they could take that Michigan loss and bounce back the way they did that quickly. So, I mean, it's just that's a smart play. I think you're right as well. The over 27 is probably going to slam because I think they're going to score close to 40.
I want to do the over like the whole game over. There's a little bit of a question mark on how Oregon comes out initially.
Right.
Just you always have
Could
that
be.
risk of like that long of a layoff, and you're facing a team that has a lot of momentum. Those almost always end up in like slower starts for the team that had the rest.
Right.
Um,
Could be a slow start for Oregon for sure. But
so
now you gotta think too. If Oregon comes out there and punches him in the mouth first possession, could be a slow start for Ohio State.
yeah, um, yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ohio. I think their team total is kind of low.
It
27
is
and a
low.
half to me, I
I'll
think
probably
is low.
I'll
So
probably
I'm
play
probably gonna
that.
play that.
I'll probably play
Here's
that, but my pick is the total game over.
I think the whole game over is good too. They scored 60 something last time they played, so like why
Yeah.
wouldn't it happen again? Yeah.
what I think when like this year we're getting a better slate of teams are having to play teams twice, I guess. Um, but like I think from a football perspective, it's easier to get a gauge on what how the defense or excuse me, the offense is going to play the game. And because I feel like to me, football wise, it's easier to mix up your defensive looks. As an offense, you spent the last year preparing your offensive scheme, how you're going to run it. Your playbook could be really big, but it's still the playbook, right? So
Yeah.
I know Oregon's had a while to change up their looks and stuff like that, but just going back from the SEC championship game, it's almost like Texas came out there and ran the exact same offense, and Georgia on half the plays knew exactly what was coming.
Yep.
So I think if Ohio State can do a good job of, or if Oregon does a poor job of switching up how they played the first game, and Ohio State can still move the football like they did game one, it's an easy Ohio State money line.
It's hard to beat a good team twice.
True.
It is hard to do that. Anything else on this one before we cover our last game? Grand finale. This is the one. I can't lie. I'm so excited about this freaking game.
I've already decided I'm going last on this one because I have still yet to make my pick. I have 2 written down, and I'm listening to y'all, and then I will make my pick.
I don't know. Is that allowed? Do we allow that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks. No one else spoke up. I guess we
Sure.
do allow that.
I guess.
I mean, Brandon made his picks on the toilet bowl like at the end every time.
That's the
Yeah,
toilet bowl.
true.
This is the college football playoff.
There's no difference.
It's a small one. All right. Notre Dame and Georgia. This is the Sugar Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, right? Sugar Bowl?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know it's in the Superdome. I know that.
Yep.
So in Louisiana, Georgia, this line keeps fluctuating a little bit, but they've kind of been sitting at UGA -1, which means it is an absolute pick 'em. And over under last I looked was 45.5. Has that moved? Has anyone
It
seen
went up
that
to
move?
46.
I think
Okay, that's fine.
originally it was 44.
Yeah, it's gone up.
So it's climbing a little bit. Okay, I
Yep.
get that. That makes sense. Brandon or Nate? You guys have to have your thoughts first because Will's going last.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give an overview a little bit. I think there's a lot of Georgia fans or, even football fans that look at the Gunnar Stockton situation now as he's going to be super, super explosive with his legs. And I don't think that's the case, actually. I think, not to say he's not going to be able to run the football in an effective way, but I think it's more going to be on the extending the plays kind of thing instead of designed runs, which I think will add to Georgia's case in my pick, which I'm just going to take them -1 or Georgia money line, whatever the better value is for that. Because somebody's they got to win somehow if I take either one. So whatever one's better value, but I think Gunnar Stockton adds an element of excitement. I think he adds an element of I want to play for this guy a little bit more. And I go back and forth, but with myself of would I rather have Gunnar Stockton or Carson Beck in this football game, and I keep leaning on the Gunnar Stockton, like a gut feeling that I think he's more of a gamer to get through this. If Georgia does have a slow start, like they tend to have, I think he's more of a guy to get back on the saddle in a way and battle back if they do jump if Notre Dame jumps out to an early lead. But I think that just the factor that Georgia will be able to extend more drives with Gunnar Stockton's legs and hopefully get a consistent run game going for him, which will be pretty tough because Notre Dame's defense I think has been slept on all year. It's probably I'd say maybe top 5, definitely top 10 in the country with who they got out there. But one, Georgia's got to catch the football. That's an obvious duh. They haven't done a good job of that all year. And they've got to get a consistent run game so they can make this transition to Gunnar Stockton starting a football game a little bit smoother. I think he's more than capable of winning the game outright. I think he's more than capable of having a great game. I don't know if I'm confident to say if it comes down to it, can he win us the game yet or not? But I'm starting to lean that way because he did kind of prove a little bit of that. I know will say a little differently, but he still played a huge role in the SEC championship of getting them a W in that game. So I'm just going to take Georgia money line. It's more so because I'm obviously a massive Georgia fan, but I don't think it's going to be easy in any sense. I could see any argument you guys may have about Notre Dame winning this football game because they are where they should be right now because they are very, very good offensively and defensively.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is tell you why Notre Dame is not going to win this football game.
Okay. Listen up, Will. This might help.
No, I think it's honestly very simple, and Brandon kind of went through it a little bit. So Notre Dame, what they've done on offense all year, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong, but they're not about to face a Northern Illinois or Indiana defense. They're not about to face those guys that they can just run through all game. I think Georgia can actually put some pressure on Riley Leonard, maybe make him make some mistakes. I don't think they're going to allow him to use his legs as much as he has in some of these other games too. So they're going to force him to throw the ball. And on the other side is Georgia has, I know Gunnar Stockton is not Carson Beck, but like Brandon said, maybe y'all would rather have Gunnar Stockton. We'll find out, especially with the fire the team played with behind them the other week. So, Georgia has shown they can score on better defenses in Notre Dame. I think it just comes down to that. If Kirby Smart goes out there with a good game plan, I think Georgia wins this game. And no ifs and buts about it. I think it's very simple.
Here's the game plan that we're looking at, man.
Oh, yeah, I got UGA money line.
Gotcha.
Here's the game plan that we're looking at, and I go all the way back to the first game of the year when Georgia played Clemson, and Notre Dame shows similar signs of defense as Clemson, whereas it's strict man-to-man. You know what I mean? There's not many zone coverages, and I think this is where it's going to be tough for Gunnar Stockton, is he's going to have to be extremely accurate because there's probably going to be a lot of offensive play calls that have some variation of a man beater on the outside as far as a zig route, pick route, stuff like that, crossing slants, this and that. But that just goes down to you have to have good quarterback play, and you got to catch the football, obviously, when he does deliver a good ball. But everybody tends to lose fact of, Gunnar Stockton is no normal backup quarterback. The guy is number 3 in high school passing yards all time in the state of Georgia. There's been a lot of good quarterbacks come from the state of Georgia. So he can sling it. He's no stranger to throwing the ball around. It's just solely can this offensive scheme get guys open in a sense where his reads are easy because of his lack of experience all year in big games and high caliber defense.
Even if guys don't get open, I still think they can throw a shock factor at Notre Dame because it's we've said it about Milroe before with how he uses his legs. Stockton obviously uses his legs way more than Carson Beck can. It's a drop back. If the first 2 reads aren't there, you tuck it and go. If he can make those quick decisions, I think he can even do damage with his legs.
I agree with that. It's kind of like a contingency plan that he's good at. And if Gunnar Stockton had to run a 40 today, he's not a 4.4 guy. He maybe be a 4.8 guy, but he's very athletic. He's pretty shifty, I would say.
He cannot run a linebacker.
I say 4.7, 4.6. Maybe not 4.8.
Somewhere in there, but he's not.
Tom Brady ran a 4.8.
But I know he's new. Like he's barely played any. He's just got to make quick, decisive decisions.
Right.
If it's not there, you got to tuck it and go, or it may be a long day for him. But if he does
And
that, I think he's good.
really, the only film that we have on him is the Texas game with against a good defense, and he had a few questionable reads, but like I always go back, he did enough to win them the football game. He didn't lose them the football game
He
in a
put his life
sense.
on the line.
So I think we get caught up in a lot of the scheme and this and that, but sometimes you just need a guy that figures out how to move the chains, how to get the ball down the field, how to score points, and I think he's our obviously our best option right now.
Someone's the 6
6 to
final.
3.
Honestly, could see it.
Hey, call me
Um,
crazy, real quick. I think Stockton is just as good as a chance to win this game as Beck.
I do too.
So Gunnar Stockton's an unknown. He's still an unknown to me, right? Okay, so let's start with the knowns, and then I'll get into Gunnar Stockton. So the known is Georgia is not super good at running the football. We know this. They're not terribly great at running the football. We also know Georgia is very good at stopping the run. We know Notre Dame loves to run the football. Okay, so the weakness for Georgia, strength for Notre Dame. Strength for Notre Dame is also a strength for Georgia. So I kind of call that like a wash. I don't think either team is going to run super effectively against the other. I just don't think it's going to happen. Because on both sides, quarterback for Notre Dame is Riley Leonard. They prefer him to be mobile anyways. They would rather the run game work because I think he's a little bit – the tape is out on – there's no tape on Stockton, but the tape is out on Riley Leonard. He has not proven himself to be a legitimate pocket passer against the top talent in the league. He hasn't done it. They rely on the run game and controlling the clock and controlling time of possession. So if they're unable to do that, which I think Georgia can do a good job of making them unable to do that, they're going to force Riley Leonard to have to throw. And if he does that, I think that plays right into Georgia's hands. That being said, I don't think Georgia is going to run particularly well. So what that leaves is Gunnar Stockton as the X factor in this football game. There's no tape on him, so we don't know. But the advantage that Gunnar Stockton has, he has played against Georgia's defense for like the last 20-something days, over and over and over again. And if you're playing against that comp on a regular basis, and there's no tape on you, I feel like you have an advantage against the team that you're about to play that doesn't know you and isn't as good as the defense that he's practiced against for the last 3 weeks.
Write this down. Stockton will be the leading rusher in that football game.
Also, this might aid to your pick a little bit. I think the experience level of this Georgia football team in this situation clears Notre Dame by a landslide. We're talking about a senior class that has won 2 national championships, really 2 SEC championships, and Kirby Smart is their head coach. I think
I wrote down Kirby Smart as well.
Right.
Take
think-
him -2.
Their only real weakness when it comes to an experience level is obviously Gunnar Stockton, and potentially like the free safety position where you're looking at KJ Bolden, a freshman, and maybe Dalen Everett. But other than that, the experience on being in this setting under the bright lights is a clear landslide towards Georgia's favor.
All that being said, I also have Georgia winning the football game.
All right, Will, all the pressure's on you.
Yep. What do you have?
See, but like now I can't choose Georgia because we all win Georgia money line.
If
Yes,
it's
you
what's
can.
going to happen, it's what's going to happen.
Right.
So what makes this decision so hard for me is one, you said
That
Georgia.
we all picked it.
No, that Georgia does stop the run well, but what Georgia is susceptible to is the big run, and Jeremiah Love is
Hits
very
home runs.
explosive.
He hits home runs.
That's what makes this so tough. And then also Gunnar Stockton, we do not know. See, I think my early lean was probably like if Notre Dame was still favored in this game, I'd take Georgia spread, no hesitation whatsoever. But they're not. It's an absolute pick 'em.
I think Georgia is only susceptible to big quarterback runs.
Brandon, I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So I don't,
Kind of.
But I think they're going to keep Riley Leonard contained pretty well.
But also,
just because they're so fast, like
if Georgia's susceptible to a big quarterback run, and everyone said Georgia's susceptible to running quarterbacks, I think it's a different thing. They're susceptible to dual threat, like true dual threat quarterbacks. Because with Riley Leonard, you have to respect the pass and you have to respect the run. That doesn't help as well. But obviously, we all know out of everyone here on this podcast, I'm probably the lowest on Marcus Freeman.
True.
Yeah.
So that's what's getting me. And there's the under, the over. I looked at the point total. The point total is like absolutely perfect.
It's perfect. It's right
Yes.
where it needs to be.
All the point lines are good.
It's literally like it's a 50-50 shot with that one, which honestly the pick'em is too, I think. We're going to do something different. Georgia spread. -2.
UGA. Oh, -2.
Okay.
I also think to Georgia's advantage, the rest advantage is actually a huge advantage in this one because they've had some crucial guys banged up a little bit. Like ETN's been banged up a little bit.
The practices for Gunner are huge. I'm telling you, the practices for Stockton are massive.
Do you think Notre Dame lost their D tackle as well?
Yeah, we've had a few linemen like Tate Ratledge has been banged up a little bit. I mean, the list can probably go on defense. I'm sure there's some guys banged up.
Do you think they tied like dumbbells to Aaron Smith's feet and just made him stand there and catch footballs?
Yeah,
that's what I was saying to somebody the other day. Is it's like, man, he struggled catching Carson Beck's passes all year, but I don't think he dropped a single one at Gunner Stockton's passes. I think he caught like 2 or 3 of them, and Gunner Stockton throws the ball. It looks like 10 miles an hour than Beck. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's just
he doesn't have as much time to think about jumping.
I guess I don't know. Man, but it just looked like, hey, I'm gonna
put just this like it's so chest. Firm it like sticks to his body. Yeah, he doesn't have a chance to drop it. Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna throw this through you, so you don't have a chance to drop it.
It's like stuck inside.
Yeah. I remember in the old Giants, he had all the stuff on his hand and just throws it in there, just sticks. He can't let it it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's an easy pick if Georgia comes out there and plays their game. Like if they come out there and they're physical, they're fast, they execute, and they can tackle. They're clearly the better roster with the better coaching. It just comes down to, containing Riley Leonard and being able to let Gunner Stockton settle in. So
Georgia has a tendency to not play their game in the first half as well.
Yeah, but that second half's normally pretty good, boy. Notice we didn't take a first half spread.
If Kirby Smart does not get sick between now and then and cannot be on the sideline, I'm 100% confident in Georgia. So unless that happens,
I think you'll be fine.
It should be all right.
Yeah.
See, also too,
unless he pulls a Hugh Freeze.
Remember when Brandon took the Tennessee cover against Georgia?
Yep.
He was in a win-win situation.
Yep.
I am too. I either win money or Notre Dame wins, and my least favorite team in college football.
But then you have to watch Marcus Freeman go and beat the snot out of Penn State.
I don't know if that.
I'd rather watch Marcus Freeman do it than Georgia.
I think I'll see Notre Dame just beat up on Boise State after they got a big win.
Yeah, sure.
That's good.
I think we're looking forward. I think whoever wins this game is going to the championship.
We're sleeping on Penn State, man.
It's tough to say.
I have really more respect for Penn State than I did. I definitely do. I have more respect for them than I had before.
Is it just me?
It's going to be another tough week to judge after this week too, because if Penn State goes out there and blows them out of the water, it's like okay, well they just beat up on a G5 team. You know what I mean?
Is it just me, or is it hard to respect Notre Dame still?
It's not for me. They're a good football team.
No, they're good, but it's like same thing. Like we joke around about Penn State and stuff. It's like it's hard for me to sit here and be like, yes, they're the best team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Someone said game is on New Year's Day, so we got to worry about the UGA arrest the night before. They cannot have their keys. They cannot.
Yeah, I know. There's no celebrating. Nothing's happened yet.
Luckily they'll be on a bus.
Dead weight out.
They'll be on a bus or a plane flying there,
driver
so they
gets a
won't have
DUI.
they won't have their cars there.
Also, something to be noted: Georgia is without their starting punter, the Australian.
That's a
That
bigger
should-
deal than people think it is, though.
Mhm.
It is. Special teams are big. Third of
Special
the
teams,
game.
special players.
In a game, okay.
They
In a
got
game
some
like
backup.
this, it actually is important. I think there might be some punting.
They got a backup guy in there, obviously, and apparently he's pretty good. He can do the job. But I mean, UGA's punter has been pretty good at setting the opposing offenses into a tough spot. So
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all remember. Y'all remember when the fourth string quarterback for Georgia, Bryce Ramsey, turned into a punter?
Yep.
Yep,
It's crazy.
I do. Yeah, I do remember that.
Technically, Carson Beck could still punt.
He just needs to rest. He's probably in a sling right now.
I also believe at some point, I think Stetson Bennett got hurt, and Carson Beck won a football game that led them to a national championship as well in recent years. So this is
Yeah.
kind of like history repeating itself.
It's just like that. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
I would
All
say,
right.
I'm going on a limb here. If Georgia ends up winning this national championship with the teams that are still left in their schedule they had to play this year, they're going to be a top 5 team I've ever watched in my lifetime. Like,
I mean, they ran through a gauntlet in the regular season.
yeah, and
Isn't
they had a
it
very
crazy
tough
though? It was
schedule.
like a bottom tier Georgia team over the last 5 years, but it could potentially be one of the best.
I don't know. Brandon at the beginning of the year said that they were going to be extremely good, and
yeah,
they've
I mean they
had
are. I don't think they're definitely haven't. If they win the national championship, they will have proved it, but they haven't proven. Obviously, the defense isn't good as the 21 defense with Nakobe Dean and
They got a bunch of first rounders there.
Yeah,
That's
They're,
going to be tough.
Week in and week out, though, they don't live up to the Georgia standard like typically they have. In
well, that's
previous
because we won back-to-back national championships, and the standard is the
Like
National
Red Zone.
championship.
No, I'm
Yeah.
talking about like week after week. Like
Well, I mean, that's any team in college football. I mean, Ohio State lost to
Yeah.
Michigan, but I think if they go and win the national championship this year, based on their schedule that they have played, and obviously losing their starting quarterback and all that, all the drama that went into the preseason with the guys getting arrested at key positions and
it's all because of Kirby
Colby Young getting arrested midway through the season, it's just like there's a lot of adversity they had to face this
Yeah.
season, and they beat up on some really, really good football teams. Because, I mean, if you think about it, they win this, they got to go play probably Penn State. Then they got to go play either, I would say, Texas or Ohio State or Oregon. I mean,
Yeah.
the gun, and I heard actually Tate Ratledge was talking on a podcast the other day, and ever since the Ole Miss loss, Georgia's pretty much already been in the playoffs. If you think about it, because if they lost another game, they're probably sitting there same seat as Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina is. If
Yep.
they lose to Georgia Tech, who knows? If they lose to Texas, who knows? It's almost been like a win or a lose and you're out situation since the Ole Miss game. So,
I mean,
Fair.
their one game that wasn't a playoff situation, I think, was Tech, because regardless of if they won, they had a shot the next week.
right.
Yeah.
But they
And of
still,
course,
I
that
mean,
went
they
to
still,
8 overtimes.
Yeah, and it went to 8 overtimes. That's
they lose that one, and then they lose to Texas. I mean, it's just
If they lost to Texas, yeah, they were out, but they still had a shot no matter what if they lost that game or not.
then
Yeah.
they would have had to play probably. It would have been a good team. I don't think they would have been put where Texas was to play Clemson. I think they would have been put at, 10 or
They wouldn't have
Lower
hosted
than
if they
that.
lost to Tech and
Yeah,
Texas.
may have been on the road at Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Probably
they might
around
get
there.
Indiana's spot.
right.
Yeah.
So it's just like, ever since I would say the Alabama loss, it's been like pins and needles. Like, we can't lose another one. Then they lost to Ole Miss, and it was like, crap. Well, we definitely can't lose another one. So they've been in this situation for quite some time, I think. Whereas you could say the same about Notre Dame, I guess, because they don't play in a conference. So they lost another game this regular
The
season.
degree
They're
of
out, but-
difficulty on the competition, though, is
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
even close. It's not even close. All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
Mm-mm.
Oh, good.
Brandon, tell the people what they need to do.
Yes, first let me say college football season. We only got like maybe 3-4 weeks left, something like that. So we
Yeah.
definitely need some suggestions on what this podcast should transition into in the future. I know we want to do some baseball stuff. I know none of us are big basketball heads, so that would be a little tough, but we want to come to you guys with a bunch of betting stuff, at least something that we can bet on, something that we have knowledge on so we can help you guys out and we make y'all some money throughout the football off season. But make sure so that you know when we are delivering all these news and all these picks for you guys. You guys ring the bell. You follow us on Twitch, Spotify, Apple Music, Twitter, TikTok, whatever platform you can think of. We probably have a page, and it's always something along the lines of Hold the Line Sports Betting or HLT Sports Betting, something like
HTL.
that. HTL, whatever it is. Go follow it and make sure you guys ring the bell on this and YouTube. And like I said last week, we're now Twitch affiliates, which means you guys can subscribe. You guys can donate bits. Everything helps out the podcast. I know I'm personally looking to get an actual PC so that we can actually start running stuff off OBS and we can really make the streams a little bit more professional looking. I would say that Riverside does a good job, but I know guys like big name streamers have countdown timers. There's a lot more effects that go into it. There's a lot more graphics that we could do. So to make the stream look better. So don't be afraid to donate. Any little thing helps. Thank you guys. And hopefully Georgia wins this week.
Yep. Appreciate you guys joining us. Appreciate all of the feedback in the chat. The chat was on fire today. That was actually really great. So definitely
Shout out
appreciate
Bend
that.
Over.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Appreciate that a lot. Always makes the podcast that much better to do. Hope you guys have a great New Year's. Me and Will are going to be back on Friday for like the last preview of the regular season for the NFL. So we'll give you some picks for that. The rest of us are going to be back as a collective unit next Wednesday to recap this last round of games and then preview the semifinals of the college football playoff. Thanks, and we will see y'all next time.
Peace.